We are going to take a look at the Origen clone, the dripper. This was purchased from Vaping Tech, I believe. It was $45. And if any of you guys know, seen the original one, this is a clone of that, and it is a pretty darn accurate clone. This drip tip does not come with it. It actually comes with that drip tip there, and that is what you'll get. It'll come in just a plain little white box. You get your Allen key. Of course, you have the drip tip included. You also get a little spare parts bag. It has two pre-made coils in it, a whole bunch of O-rings, and 2 screws. It's a really good kit, and you are definitely going to need those O-rings. Now this is dual coil dripper. The looks, finish was absolutely flawless when I got it. It has, I believe, a 1 mil air hole, 1.5, and 2 mil air holes, which I'll show you in a second when I break it apart. I am not going to do a rebuild on this. I will show you the build I have in there, and I will remove the build to show you the inner post. But it's pretty much whatever build you normally do, and if you really want to see a build, how to do a build on it, you can watch Todd's review on the authentic version. It's the same thing. I originally bought this to actually go on my vanilla mod, and it does not screw on. It's really loose, and I actually tried using this on a couple of my other high-end mods, and it doesn't seem to screw on any of my original mods. I mean, it will screw on, but it's either really loose, or it just, the 510 seems almost too narrow to catch a thread, but it screws on all my clones just fine. So I I don't know, take that for what it's worth. So basically it fits clones perfectly, but if you're looking to use this on a higher end mod, you may have an issue, so beware of that. The build quality of this, it's impressive, but I did pay it was $45, and even for a clone, that's pretty darn expensive in my opinion for a dripper. But they did not hold anything back with the build quality. It feels like quality steel. The machining, the finish, everything was just is beautifully done really well. Even the drip tip, I do like the drip tip quite a bit. Hopefully I have this set up. Before I rip it apart, let me have a quick vape. The vapor that this thing produces is impressive as well. Thick, billowy clouds of vapor. The flavor. My favorite dripper, at least flavor-wise, has to be the Fatty V3. I know I've seen quite a few negative reviews on it, but the flavor of that thing is absolutely outstanding. This, right on par with it, except the build quality is much better, and this clone's build quality is even better than the authentic Fatty V3, which I was kind of upset with. I did a video on that, said I was going to buy the real one, bought the real one, and yeah, it's a great vape, but I noticed the only difference between the $12 clone and the real one was the clone had one brass screw while the real one didn't. I was a little disappointed with that. Now this, as you can see, it has on the outer ring there, it has your 2 holes for dual coil. Now I was not really disappointed, a little let down. I might actually have to screw this back on a mod, only for the simple fact is, hopefully I'll show you. There's your air holes. You have a little 1 mil, a 1.5, and a 2. Right next to it, you have a whole nother set. Next to that, you have another set. Normally, on the authentic version, that's all you have, those 3 sets. That way you can run single coil. They got drill happy on the clone, and you have holes going all the way around. So no matter where you turn it, you're going to have 2 open holes. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Here's your top cap. I mean, it's a nice feeling steel. It's very well made. Everything in here, everything you see there is polished, very nicely done. A lot of O-rings, and the O-rings are a really tight fit, and I've already started nicking up this bottom O-ring here. And there's your chamber, and the chamber's actually really small once you get it on. It adds a lot to the flavor, and this is a thick piece of steel. It's impressive. This is a really, really good quality clone, and like I said, for the price, I was expecting that, and I was also expecting them to not go crazy with the air holes, but it is what it is, and I'm still, vape quality wise, it's very good. And this is, I've just been setting, I've had to pull them up since I burned a couple spots, but hopefully you can get an idea of how I have it built. You have your 2 little juice wells there, and it's another thing, they are a little misleading about the juice wells. They say you can put, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 mil, but probably 1 mil of juice in here, and you can put it in here, and you can vape it if you hold the device perfectly straight up like that. But the moment you tip it, you're going to have juice coming out the air holes. So still, I mean, it does add to how long you can vape it, but don't get carried away with how much you actually drip in there. And I found that if I stuff those with with wicking material, it doesn't improve how much it holds, because then I just get a bunch of wick that's sort of wet but not saturated enough to vape, if that makes any sense to you guys. So there you go. You see your center post. Hopefully I'll focus a little bit. There you go. See your center post. You have the knurling. It's very easy to use. You have your negative contacts, which you will need the Allen key for. I don't know if I mentioned, but that also comes, so you will need that. And I guess I will start pulling it apart for you now. I hate to do it because I've really been enjoying this vape. I really, really have. Let me just get some of this stuff off. Alright. And it's pretty simple. This up here, very easy to do with your finger. Oh, unlike the real one, this does not have a silver plated post. That is actually brass, just bare brass, at least from what I've been able to tell. I mean, I don't notice, yeah, it's just bare brass. But, I mean, it's still been performing really well. Alright. See if I can get this apart. I do have to admit, even though I gotta say, I really didn't like spending that much on a clone. But it really is. It really does feel like a high-end dripper. It vapes like a high-end dripper. They really put effort into this one, and if not for the fact that they got drill happy, this would have been damn near on par with the authentic version. And there you go. There's your little deck area. You have your two little channels cut out in there. And hopefully you can see that you do have a hole in the positive. I'm not sure if that's going to show up, but you do have, there you go, you do have a hole in the positive post. I find it easier just to wrap the wire around the post though and tighten it down rather than trying to poke a little wire through that. They could have done a little better cleaning that hole out, and that is nothing I also want to note. When I first received this, there was some burrs around that area, so I had to kind of work this down, back it up, and keep going at it like that for a little while just to get this all the way down so I can actually get it to hold tight on the wire. And you do want to clean this very well. There was a lot of machining oil. There you go. There was a lot of machining oil and gunk and probably pieces like little brass shavings and stuff left in the threads there. Really nice fat O-rings on the base there. And again, you are going to need the spares. These hold on very tight. And I have noticed that I might have to spin it a few times to get this to actually sit all the way down. I do have a problem with this one sitting all, I'll show you that when I put it back together. So that's basically it for this. I mean, those will come out. This will come off. You can take this off. The center post is not adjustable. I mean, you may be able to work something out. I can't even, the real one I've seen in the videos that they've been able to just push that out like that, but I have not been able to get this one to budge. I've tried unscrewing that center post, and I just can't get it to budge. And to be honest, I really have no need to. It's working so well, I haven't had any need to mess with it. So just keep that in mind. And it does, that center pin, that positive pin does stick out a good deal. So you will have to, if you don't have something with a floating 510, you may find that this isn't sitting flush. Or if you don't have something with an adjustable center pin, I mean, you may find that this doesn't sit flush on whatever it is you're using. Now, see that is a really tight fit. And right there, that seemed to go on, but there are times where I do have an issue and there is a little gap in that area. This is the part that normally gives me a gap, and I really haven't found much of a way to solve that yet. I haven't tried removing that O-ring. I'm sure after some use and breaking that bottom O-ring down a little bit, it may go. And that's basically your dripper there. If you don't mind spending $45 on a clone, you really can't go wrong with this. You're not going to be disappointed at all. It is quality. Just bear in mind that you are not going to be able to run a single coil setup, at least with air just going on the coil. You are going to be feeding both sides of the chamber, no matter what you do. And I did ask a few questions about this on one forum, and of course it was a clone forum, and I guess whoever it was doing it doesn't pay attention to the authentic versions or whatever, and tried to explain to me that that's how it's supposed to be, and da-da-da. Well, it will dilute flavor, so just bear that in mind. I don't want to go on a rant about that. It's not big of a deal. But yeah, and midway, that little 1 mil actually seems, it seems to be more then, I mean, it's definitely 1 mil in size, but it vapes more like dual 1.2s. Like, it's almost perfect. It, that is perfect for a mouth to lung hit. You can get a pretty good lung hit on the next size when you spin that. The second one, you do get a pretty good size, but when you go to the widest open, it really is wide open. The amount of vapor this thing can produce is right up there with the Tridents, and I, maybe not the Omega. I don't know. I personally don't own an Omega yet, so I can't really compare to that. But this thing will put out vapor with the best of them, and the flavor surpasses every other dripper I have ever used besides the Fatty V3, which the build quality of this the build quality of this clone is better than the authentic V3, if that means anything to any of you guys. This is an impressive little dripper here, even without the dual coil. Kind of sound like I'm repeating myself right now, but so there's really not much else to say about this one. It's it's impressive. If I have to find a negative with this, it is the really tight O-rings, and it's hard to actually get this top piece to sit all the way down flush and have a nice flat look without a little gap there, because you'll get everything set up, you'll put this cap back on, and then you'll notice that, alright, you didn't get it all the way down, so you'll try to spin this all the way around, which will normally solve that issue. But then, because of this bottom section here being polished, you don't notice that while you're spinning this section right here will also spin. So when you do finally get everything sorted, you take a vape and now your holes are off the coil, and it's hard to just spin this one. I mean, you can do it on the thing, but if you look in there, it's difficult to see where your coils are because they're kind of off to the side here. So you'll have to pull everything off again, line everything back up, put it back down, and hope you have it. And eventually I just gave up and started living with that little gap, hoping eventually I'll put enough tears in that bottom O-ring and everything will sit flush. Now, I haven't tried it without that bottom O-ring under this top cap. I'm trying not to mess with anything. The vape is worth putting up with a few of those little issues, and I'm fairly confident over time that this will soften up a little bit, and I won't have that issue anymore. And if not, it will just get to the point where it's so torn up it won't even matter. Like I said, I'm sure you can't see it there, but I'm already getting little tears and stuff in it. You might be able to solve that issue if you have like a little Dremel, or you take a piece of sandpaper and kind of round off the inner edge there, because and I believe it's like that on their real one too. They kind of left it just straight and flat, so there's no place for the O-ring to sit in. So, and because it's so low, it's kind of just pushing up on it. I really don't think it's much of an issue, and it's definitely an issue that is inherited from the original authentic version. That's pretty much all for this one. It's very heavy, vape quality is outstanding, and my only negatives are little nitpicks, and over some use, I'm sure you'll develop habits to solve the little issues I've been having. So I can't think of any reason besides the fact that it's an expensive clone dripper to not get one of these. It looks great. Oh, okay, and I also forgot that it does have issues screwing on new genuine devices, such as the vanilla. It doesn't screw on to my the Wu-Tang, the El Captain mod. What else? the roller, it doesn't like the roller. The Enzonic, it'll screw onto, but it's a little loose. It does screw onto the Avenger perfectly, but kind of it's a little big for that. But anyway, I haven't found a clone that it doesn't screw onto. Every clone I have, and I've tried it on about 20, a little over 20, maybe 30 clones, and it screws on every single clone I have perfectly fine. So if you're looking for a really good quality clone dripper, you know, the difference between this and the real one's $50. If I would still recommend getting a real one, just because, I mean, this is a stolen idea, but hey, if you want to save $50, you are not going to be disappointed with this clone at all. Alright, let me stop my little rambling and repeating myself. Thank you guys for watching. Again, this is the Origen Dripper clone. I can't remember the manufacturer. It's Yeshmo, I believe. And they have been making some very good high quality clones lately. So keep an eye out on them. And again, thanks for watching. You can't go wrong with this dripper. Absolutely one of the best clones that I have come across yet. Alright, thanks for watching. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.